ocean, as blue as can be. There's something out there calling to me, with no signs of combustion, no wings on the whole. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, and I was born to take a chance. I live my life on the edge, so I'm gonna fly into danger, chasing after them, search for a ghost out in the wind. Well, I don't know why you believe me, it sounds crazy, I know. Such a strange kind of feeling to let go, but we're not alone. Caps below me, and I'm drawn to their wakes. I'm staring at something I just can't escape, and as fast as a bullet, it's gone from my view. Just what do you think they would say about you? And I was born to take a chance. I live my life on the edge, so I'm gonna fly into danger, chasing after them. Oh, that was a quick cut. I thought it was going to be a fade. It didn't fade. That was a quick cut.
You get him next time.
What do you think of that, Mr. Dave?
I think
I got to fix this. You think what?
Nothing like playing a piano downstairs through the house, you know?
You know, that's one of my regrets as I set this up. Hold on, I'll talk and set it up at the same time while my son is yelling in the background. No big deal.
The sound of
It
children
is the
yelling.
Conspiracy Dad podcast.
Yeah,
so
just another
if you're
day.
surprised that there are children running around my house, I don't know. You're not very perceptive.
That's right.
you might not notice
Don't
the UFOs
go out
either.
on the streets alone, because you might get attacked and not see it coming.
What was I saying?
Well, we were talking about having a piano in the house.
Oh yeah. For years I had a electric piano, and I always kind of thought, because you have to have it tuned every year, and it just made sense. Like, I don't know what's the big difference. And then I found this really beautiful 1954 classic upright piano. And I don't know why. I think it was because my daughter was getting more into piano, and I wanted her to have like a real piano to play on, and bought it for about $3,000, which was a deal for it because it was honestly worth more like $9-10 grand.
Okay.
But that's a lot of money, for a piano.
That's a car.
But I immediately, when we got it home, was like, because somebody had told me years ago, they're like, don't buy buy a real. It's about commitment. It's about like.
Was it Philip?
No, but there's a lot of piano teachers that will they'll require you to have a real piano before they will even teach your children piano.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is so that you're invested in it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if mom and dad pay 10 grand for a piano, you're actually going to continue getting lessons, and you're going to make your kids practice all of those things. But also, there's nothing like a real piano. Like the nicest, fake electric upright or grand, whatever it is. It's not the same. I've played the really nice ones. They're even like a mediocre real piano. It's just the resonance of the vibration of the room. And you put the piano in the center, like the heart of the house, and it really becomes like a fireplace. It's like the heart of the house. And kids will be playing songs on the piano, and it adds so much character to your home life, to have like a real piano. So if I was going to give advice, maybe this is my first dad advice.
Great. Yeah.
First, I had another one that's way more important, but the first one would be, hold on one second.
This is the, this is the, there's no more. So, there's no more.
No more what?
Soda water.
You brought it to me?
Well, Phoebe, that's Phoebe's, but she said I can bring it to you.
Thank you so much. I love you. That's love right there. The last soda water.
There's no more.
Yeah.
And as far as a kid's concerned, there's no more on the planet. I mean,
she's my favorite. We all have favorites. If you're a parent out there and you act like you don't, you're just not being honest. Like deep down inside, you got one that's a little bit nicer than the others.
Well, maybe a little bit nicer, or just one that you relate to. It may not be nicer, but you can...
I go for the one that's nicer.
Sure. I think a lot of people would. I'm just saying, I'll bet it's not the nicer one in every case.
Yeah. There's definitely one you don't like as much.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, if we're being honest, 100%.
That's Louis C.K. bit. He talks about your parents are going to die, and he goes, and one of them's going to die first. And guess what? It's not the one that you want.
Well, so the first dad advice was buy a real piano.
That's great. Yeah.
It seems like a lot. You can spend anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000 on a decent piano, but I'd say just make the investment. When I bought it, I wasn't thinking about me. I was thinking this will be a family heirloom that I'll give to one of my kids someday. And that's why. And because it was such a classic piano that I bought as a 54 Callan upright, which is the exact same make and model that Abbey Road Studios had as a house piano for decades. And so it is the exact piano that the Beatles and
and I just learned she came in through the bathroom window.
Hey Jude, you play Hey Jude on this piano and
That's
you go,
it.
oh, it sounds exactly like Hey Jude, like exactly like Hey Jude. Anybody that recorded at Abbey Road, that's
just
what they use.
Just picturing when you get a buddy that's learning to play guitar and he's like, check it out, I sound exactly like it. And you're like, well,
yes.
But this is Hey Jude on the piano.
Yeah, on the exact same piano. So I had to buy it. It was from Scotland and somehow ended up here. And anyway, kind of like the idea last podcast of like, just do it. Like just pull the bone out of their throat, if they're choking.
Yeah.
There's some things that I think it's just good to have. And a real piano, I know you might not be able to buy it tomorrow. Definitely don't put it on a credit card. But
if you more dad advice, that's good.
Yeah, if you can get a piano, or if you're going to get a piano, get a real piano.
I don't remember who I was talking to this weekend, but we were just going on about how many pianos are available, like on Facebook Marketplace. There are a lot of people that are on the other side of this, where maybe they don't have kids to pass them on to, or maybe they're the kid that acquired this from another family member and they don't have any interest in it. So actually, if you're willing to go pick the piano up, many people will just give you one.
Yeah, I had somebody right around the corner from here wanting to give us a piano.
That's where I got mine. Mine's a family heirloom, belonged to my grandmother. And my cousin just said, well, yeah, if you'll come get it, you're welcome to it.
Sorry, I'm adjusting something.
That's all right.
And the only reason I didn't take them up on that was because I wanted to record on it.
Oh, okay.
And so when I went to buy this piano, that is what I said was, I was looking at another one actually, and this guy had a bunch of used pianos because he was a piano tuner guy.
So he just kind of kept acquiring them.
Well, it was a funny story. His brother was like a 30-year piano mechanic tuner person, and he died like of cancer or something. And so he inherited like 20 pianos, this brother. And he also knew how to tune pianos because his brother had taught him, but he wasn't like, that wasn't his gig.
Like his trade. Okay.
And so I think his wife was like, you got to sell these pianos. And when I went to his house, he literally had pianos all throughout
Just
the house.
lined up. Oh
and
my goodness.
This was one that when I said, well, I want something that I can record on. So, some of those older uprights that are more like, I forget what they call them, like there's a name for it. It was like a cheaper version.
Okay.
Well, if you go back and look at the history of it, actually, it goes back to I Love Lucy. So there was a type of upright piano that Ricky Ricardo played on I Love Lucy, and it was I can't think of the name of it. I don't know why it'll come to me in a minute, but either way, it was like a new way of making a piano, and it was cheaper and a lot more accessible, but it was also like really poor quality. And so after that show came out, it was such a big hit. Every house in America bought an upright piano like this because it was just like this, you could afford one, and it was so popular on the show. And you had this explosion of a piano market and people buying upright pianos, but a lot of them are pretty not great.
Is it Spinet piano?
Yeah.
Yeah. Story and Clark Spinet.
Hold on, we got an issue.
Oh.
But you're on.
Man, I tell you, the internet. You can
We're
find
still
anything
connected.
on here.
We're still connected. But we'll see. Try to switch here in a minute. But so yeah, I mean, if you don't have the money, if you just do some searching, there's somebody with a piano. I would just say, inspect it to see if it's something. Like some of them are so bad you can't actually tune them.
Right.
Like the way that they were made, it's just it's not going to last. Yeah. But there's a lot of them that might be it's not going to sound like a 54 Callan, but it's going to sound
right.
It might be decent enough to learn.
Many of us are not wanting to spend $3,000. I wouldn't have for mine, but I was willing to make the day-long journey to go lug this piano into the back of my car and get it back home for all the reasons you're talking about. Almost like a fireplace in the heart of the home. It's just a good piece to have around. Nobody walks into your house and goes like, why the heck do you have a piano here?
Yeah.
It just looks like a home thing to have. Yeah.
Well, and then it took about a year before the kids started playing it, but part of more dad advice, part of learning to be creative specifically has to do with being bored. I don't know if you had that experience with music, but the reason that I started really playing music was I was very sick one summer, and everyone else went away to summer camp, and all I had was a guitar sitting in my room. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the internet, I didn't have TV, so I just picked up the guitar and started playing. And I think that that's something my wife and I have talked about, that like when you're watching TV or podcasts, you're being told what to think. Yeah. Your brain literally turns off when you're being programmed to watch some sort of program. It's not bad to do that sometimes, but I think with children, you should make a specific effort to make them bored. Like turn off all the screens, and just do it. I don't know why so many people I've talked to, it's like this impossible thing. It's like, just turn them off. They can't, and you'll see, like it'll suck for like an hour, especially the ones having withdrawal, where they're like clearly addicted to watching a screen. But after an hour, they just start to play. Yeah. And they start to go outside and like do things. And they'll even be creative and imaginative. And I think, I don't know how you could possibly become a good musician if you're just constantly stimulated by some sort of screen or device. Maybe there's some people that do it, but I couldn't have done it. I don't know.
Well, just to dovetail on that, one of my favorite dads, I used a trick out of his playbook, and my wife and I do screen-free Sundays. And we just started doing it like in the last month. And just like you said, it is painful for an hour at a time here and there. But I've gone on more bike rides, done more board games, and just had actual good interactions.
Do you see that they're actually happier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It's painful for about an hour. They're not happy about it. But somewhere in the middle of the afternoon, you go, where are they? Oh, they've been coloring for 45 minutes happily together. That never happens. So yeah, it's pretty good. Whether you do a whole day on a Sunday or something, but some kind of forced creativity like that is good. That's another piece of advice I got from another dude who he just was talking about. It's tempting to put a podcast on every time you mow the lawn and every time you're doing menial stuff like folding laundry, but sometimes just kind of make a sacrament out of it. Take the earbuds out of your ears and just focus wholly on what it is you're doing, and try not to hit the fast forward button on the activity. And that can be an act of meditation. It's good for your brain.
Sorry, I'm still tweaking stuff. I asked Kanan, my oldest, if he wanted to start being our producer.
What did he say?
He's going to think about it. I
said, you have a lot going on.
He's got a lot going on.
Okay.
A lot of video games. But I said, well, you think about it. If you really want to do it, I said, we talk about interesting stuff and you'll learn a really valuable skill set of, producing a podcast, and I'll put you on the credits. And he's going to get back to me.
Was there any piece of that seemed more compelling to him than another? Like being on the credits or learning a skill set?
I think the interesting conversation, because the thing that we do have in common is we do like politically, like ideologically, we think the same. And we're very, like, we like to watch. He likes to listen to some of the podcasts that I listen to. And so that's kind of our thing. It's like, hey, can we go listen to this podcast? Okay. So I think he's more interested in sitting over there and like listening to the ideas that we're talking about.
When I was his age, I enjoyed sitting around while the grown-ups talked and getting to be kind of a fly on the wall. So I could see the value of that.
Did you have some dad advice? I feel like I've been hogging all the dad advice section.
I
didn't even mean to go in those two.
Well,
Screens off, buy a real piano.
Yeah, I think those are two. That's sufficient for today. I didn't have anything that was specific that topped that, other than Rocky 3 still holds up, and my son is deep into Rocky right now. So, as a dad, I just couldn't be more proud.
Well,
he loves Tom Petty and he loves Rocky.
You really can't ask for more. That's a good kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
he has a poster of Reagan up on his wall.
He's just going to land on his feet. There's no way he doesn't,
They talk about how important those first formative years are.
He might even be as successful as Hunter Biden if you just keep it up. You know what I mean?
One can hope. Yeah.
He could be an oil executive or an international finance expert. Who knows?
Who knows what he'll become?
Hopefully,
man, I'll tell you. Speaking of Rocky, and this doesn't have anything to do with Hunter Biden, but I got my ass kicked to the Rocky soundtrack today at the gym.
Keep going. I'm fixing our screen.
Which is funny. Like, we play music at the gym, right? And so it's open mat for jiu-jitsu. And it's kind of like a junior high dance. You just kind of point across the room to a stranger and go, you want to? Okay. There's this young phenom at the gym. He's like, he might
Wait a minute, young.
He's like 17. It's like
you said a word before
phenom,
that.
like phenomenal
phenom.
talent. Yeah.
Is that like a cool word
phenom.
Kids say that I don't know about?
Yeah. You're not mid, you're phenom. You're really good.
I didn't know that. There's one that my daughter said the other day that I was like, I don't even know that's a word. But it was Riz or something.
Oh,
it wasn't Riz. It was something else, and I was like,
"Is bet the thing?
Is that good? I don't know."
No, mid's the thing I heard recently. That
phenom,
but phenom's one that I think I picked up from older folks.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard my kids saying that.
A wonderkin. You ever heard of that?
No.
That's like a young up and comer kind of
young go hard.
Yeah. Anyway, this 17-year-old punk, he's just beating my ass grappling.
Really?
I mean, like I was getting beat up in high school. He's way better than me because he's been doing it longer and since he was 7 or something. I mean,
is he bigger than you too, or just?
He's just recently grown like 30 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So he's my size
Fresh meat.
and way more athletic and way more flexible. and that Rocky song is playing. It's one of the montage score songs.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, there's about a minute and a half left in this round. The Rocky song came on. I need to like draw. He wasn't even born at the time these movies came on. So I'm thinking I should be able to draw something from inside deep and get out of this bad situation. I just was getting my face smashed. He's crushing me. Dun, 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 dun.
God, that's got to be brutal. I'm trying to picture what it would be like. I kind of had an experience like that with a buddy who's probably about 15 years younger than me with running.
Okay. Yeah,
And
it's a lot like
he's
that.
like,
Yeah.
because I was a runner, and he's like, hey, you want to do a sprint and race? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure I didn't know if I could beat him, but I was like, I can definitely hang with him. And then he smoked me, and I was like, oh, I'm old.
It's
Like,
like that.
I can't
but
hang.
Picture like, in a race, if you're getting embarrassed, you could like just step off to the side and act like you quit for.
Like you hurt your foot.
If you're getting beat up by a high schooler on a jiu-jitsu mat, he can make that last as long as he wants. There's no, like at one point the clock went out, beep. That means we're done. And for like 60 seconds, we rest and pick another partner. He's on top of me. He goes, let's just keep going.
And then you can't. So you got to keep going.
Yeah,
okay. I'm good. And
He
meanwhile,
just crushed me for another 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah. It's a humbling sport.
Well, what did you take away? What's your takeaway?
I just thought about Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. Like that poor guy gets beat up because he's the bad guy. He's the
Does everything for you go
antagonist.
back to a Rocky reference pretty much?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I just was thinking about the bad guys in those Rocky movies, and I thought, well, for the viewer, the score is like that's the winner's song, but not for Mr. T.
Yeah.
Not for Dolph Lundgren. Not for Apollo Creed. What's his name?
I wonder what's playing in their head.
Carl Weathers. I mean, like for them, that's like the song you get beat up to.
Oh, you think they hear the same song that Rocky hears? Because I don't think so. I think when you're watching the movie, that song is supposed to be playing in Rocky's head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in their head, they got a whole other song playing.
What does their song sound like?
Well, it's not as good as Rocky's, that's for sure.
But imagine the mind screw that it was for me to hear the winning song when I was not winning.
You mean you heard it over the overhead?
Yeah, we were playing music in the gym.
I thought that you were like, I was playing it in my head.
It wasn't like I was imagining.
It's like I was like, I'll hear it in my head.
No, we have like
they literally played the winning song when you were the loser.
Yeah, we had a Bluetooth speaker, and we usually play like some kind of instrumental hip hop or
Well, you're right about that. It definitely meant nothing to that kid.
No, and he didn't take it easy on me at all. And I thought maybe for a second that it would help me pull something deep from within my soul. Nothing. I tried to escape this bad position I was in and got nowhere. And then, I mean, it happened a few times.
There is a thing too. Remember Matt, our former drummer?
Sure. No P. Yeah.
Do you remember when we were at that casino in Arkansas and we were staying at the hotel and then like really late at night, he wanted to wrestle and I like wrestled him and I like beat him really bad. And then he got really butthurt about it.
Getting beat up by another man is not fun.
It was before he had kids. So like his rationalization when he was done is like, you have dad strength and that's just not fair because I don't have that yet.
I wonder if there was a rematch, how you guys would do.
I probably could still take him because he's so skinny.
We used to argue about who would win between Tom Petty and John Cougar in a fight.
Oh, that's a good one.
And
Tom Petty.
Oh.
As much as I like John Cougar.
Wow, you just blew my mind.
I just feel like Tom Petty would be dirty. Like he would not fight honorably.
So what's funny is you used to like relentlessly go, no, definitely John Cougar.
Did I say John Cougar?
You said Mellencamp.
I mean, I'm a big John Cougar fan, but
and I used to say, nah, Tom Petty's stubborn, he wouldn't give up. And then over the years, just thinking about it, we haven't even had this conversation for 15 years. You wore me down. And just this weekend, I'm at a 4th of July barbecue asking somebody, and they go, I think Cougar. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. Definitely Cougar.
I'm vaguely remembering this conversation now, and I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think I did think about it really long and hard, and I was like...
He seems scrappier to me.
Yeah, but, oh gosh, we need to reevaluate this, because Tom...
His will against the record industry is...
He will not back down.
He said so himself.
I mean, he made it very clear, I won't back down. So, Cougar, I think, would fight dirty, but I just think Tom would not give up.
Yeah. Now, one thing I brought up in that conversation this weekend is like, where does Springsteen fit into all of that?
I think he's full of shit.
Oh, see, I think he'd beat both of them.
No, I don't think he would.
Oh,
He's
okay.
completely full of it. He's like
hard to mail those 3-hour shows in.
Yeah,
he's really doing that.
I know, but I just think in general as a philosophy, he's kind of full of it. And so I think it probably bleeds over into his fighting technique.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that what we're arguing about has no bearing on our thoughts on their merits as an artist.
No.
Like, I'm not saying...
I'm looking at the person, the
we're
personality.
talking about, like, if you put him in a scrap.
And like, if you put him in a scrap, I think you punch Bruce in the face once, I think he caves. I just think he's not. I think it's all show.
Okay.
I think,
like kind of a peacock around.
Yeah, he's a peacocker. You can tell he's a peacocker.
Yeah.
Just look at him.
Kind of like in Rocky when Dolph Lundgren punches Apollo Creed, and Creed looks very surprised.
Yes.
Like, whoa, I did not see that come.
John Cougar, I think you punch him, you're getting punched back. I don't think there's a...
And he's one that he's gonna fish hook your mouth. He's gonna poke your eyes. Yeah.
And same with Petty, though. I think you punch him, he's not backing down. He's coming back at you.
He's gonna look back at you.
But I think it's great that we've been calling him Cougar this whole time, and he actually changed his name back.
That's the one name that he dropped. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a woman who grew up with him. I think she dated him for a while. Her name was Rochelle. She was from the same small town.
Was she older?
Yeah,
she was
obviously
born in a small town.
She was. He's from a small town in Illinois. Was it Indiana?
I think it's Indiana.
Yeah. But Rochelle, if you're out there, miss you. She was a sweetheart. But she was like the biggest John Cougar fan. And she would always tell me, like, he was so embarrassed when the record label made him change his name to John Cougar. He thought it was the dumbest thing, and he didn't want to do it. And they told him everybody has a stage name. It's what actors do. And he went on tour, and everybody made fun of him. And he came back home. He said, I'm John Mellencamp. He reversed, and he said, I'm undoing that name.
Yeah.
Even though John Cougar is a good name. It's
pretty cool.
I mean, I'd give him that advice.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're calling him. So that's the more catchy name.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot.
Sure.
As they say in the business world.
They got a lot more than they bargained for with that dad chat.
Yeah, that dad chat was good. I didn't even get into my real point that I thought about all day, and I was like, that's a good dad advice. So you have to hang on to the next episode.
Store that one away for later. Yeah.
And it's like a dad food advice that you need to know about if you're a man.
If you're a man.
So today we're talking about
a man,
Captain, is it Captain, right? Commander David Fravor. And if you're paying attention at the top of the podcast, that was a song that I wrote called Fravor's Stand. And it's about Commander Fravor and his encounter with a UFO while serving on the U.S. Nimitz, which is a fleet. Is that right? It's not just one ship. It's like multiple ships. Is that right?
My understanding is it was an aircraft carrier. But
okay, just a singular aircraft carrier. I apologize if we're losing our video feed. I'm going to try to fix this, but it keeps jumping on and off. But I think we're back on. Anyway, in 2004, I'll let you run down the story because you probably have the notes in front of you and you get it right better than me. But long story short, that's what we're talking about is a very now famous, it's probably the most documented because it was caught on video and radar of a really, really high ranking fighter pilot, not just seeing a UFO, but trying to chase down a UFO. And he recently came out and did a few podcasts talking about that experience. He's done a lot of interviews. If you want to know any more about the Nimitz Tic-Tac incident, just put Tic-Tac in Google and that's what's going to come up. And there's been a lot of him talking about it. But do you want to run through the specs of kind of technically what happened?
Yeah. I just had the New York Times article pulled up, but you're right. 2004, Fravor is the CO, the commanding officer of the Nimitz. And so he's got something like 300 people under him. They're about to go.
Wait a minute. Is he? I don't know if he's commander of the Nimitz. Is he?
Correct. Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's commander of the Blue
like
Angels.
It's the Black Angels, I think. I mean, they got a cool name.
I thought it was Blue Angels. No.
No. Blue Angels is like the guys that they go out like as a marketing tool.
But it's specifically a fleet of fighter jets.
Correct.
Like it's not.
Yeah,
He's not the captain of the
jets.
ship. He's just the commander of the fighter jets.
Yeah, but he does have a couple 300 people. Under him.
He's top dog.
Yeah.
He went to Top Gun. Like that is where he went to school.
Correct.
He is Maverick. If in person, like that is, that's who he is.
Yeah. So he is a legitimate, like a bona fide Top Gun instructor. 24 years of military experience. He was commander. And he was not in charge of the ship, but he was one of the top 20 guys in charge of that ship. And under him are a couple 300 people who are like a flight crew and everything that he's got to manage. It's late in the year 2004.
November, I think.
Correct. Yeah. 2004. They're getting ready. They're getting geared up to go to Iraq, and for their deployment. And they're going out on a training exercise off of the coast of California.
Baja.
Yeah,
right?
like San Diego area. It's him. So it's two jets, is my understanding. It's him and his what he calls a Wizzo. So it's the Goose in the back seat.
What does Wizzo mean again? It's
weapons,
like weapons
special
operator.
Operations.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's WSO. His Wizzo's in the back, and then it's a female pilot, Alex. I forget her last name, but
she's come public too now.
She's not near as public as he is.
I think the Wizzo is not though, because he's still serving.
Okay. Yeah,
so
that sounds right.
Respected that and not said
so there
exactly
are
who that is.
four of them out there in the air. And before they take off, one of the traffic controllers or the tower guys says, "Hey, we've been seeing these blips on the radar, these craft. We don't really know. We've been seeing these objects."
They kind of thought maybe it was like drug smugglers, didn't they?
Right.
Or that's what Fravor thought.
Right.
Was like, because that happens pretty often.
The tower guy didn't say, "We've been seeing UFOs." He just said, "We've been seeing some activity out there. So, this is just a heads up for you." And then once they're flying out they're about to do like a game, like a spar or like a pickup basketball game, a training exercise.
They're not armed.
Correct.
They have dud missiles attached to it because they're just training.
Right. So they are going to what would be their goal line in a football game in the scrimmage. And a couple other pilots are headed to the other side of the field, the flight field, to do the same. While they're en route to go to their cap point, is what that's called, tower guy says, "Hey, one of those objects is popping up. This is no longer a training mission. This is a live operation." So Fravor goes to the area where he's, supposed to be looking for whatever this is. And that's where he says he sees some whitewash in the water, as if something's bubbling up from the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sees this, what a lot of people have heard of, people refer to this tic-tac bubble up from kind of just above the water. So he sees whitewash, and like you said, at this point he's kind of thinking, is this some kind of a helicopter, drug running, something? And he directs his wingman, the female pilot, to stay up at about 20,000 feet, or is it 20,000 miles? Up at 20,000.
Yeah, miles would be much higher.
Miles is higher than feet? Okay.
Yeah. 5,280, I think.
Oh, all right.
I'm a pilot. No.
Might as well be.
That could be wrong. That's coming from the back of my head, like long ago. Somebody, I was like 5,280 feet.
So 20,000 miles would be like 10.
You'd be at the
100,000. Yeah, you'd be way up there. Almost.
Not
halfway
to the moon. Halfway to the moon.
Okay.
Okay.
We know
that
you wouldn't be there.
Yeah. Those radiation belts
so
would stop you way before you got there.
So you get the female pilot, the wingman, is monitoring from their altitude that they're maintaining while Fravor goes down to check it out. He engages this tic-tac object, sees that it's not a helicopter. There's no jet wash. There's
certain signatures he says that they can look for even just from a distance. You see rotor wash, you see a tail, even just the way it moves too.
Yeah.
You can. He identifies aircraft for a living.
Sure.
He knows if it's something helicopter, boat,
Right.
airplane, whatever. He's the guy that would know.
Right.
Back to my point of the other one. If he's not an expert,
This is
who
very
is?
much,
You know what I mean?
I thought that a lot of times listening back to interviews with him was what you were saying. Well, if this guy's not an expert, because he said it was about 40 feet long. And he said, I know that because the planes that I engage for a living for 20 years were all about 40 feet long. So I know what a 40-foot long object looks like out of the window of my plane when I'm at that altitude. He engages this object, and the object mirrors some of his movement. And the way Fravor describes it is it looked like this object noticed that he was engaging it and behaved in such a way that it was just kind of.
I think he described it like a game of like a duck duck goose.
Yeah.
When he's coming down, this object turned towards him and started to like circle each other as they're getting closer. Almost like a duck duck goose, but like a I remember he did say he never felt threatened by it, but it was like scoping him out. Like he's looking at it, it's looking at him. They're coming closer together.
Yeah. So, and then at some point in the middle of this engagement, this object just zips off, disappears. And he asks his wingman, who's watching kind of bird's eye view, no pun intended, do you see it? She says, no, it's gone. So it's not just one of these where like on Top Gun, oh, I lost him, I can't find him. You know, it's like somebody was watching.
3 people saw it disappear, right?
Yeah, this thing is gone. And so, okay, well, we're heading back. And as they're coming back, I think the tower guy radios and says, hey, Skipper, you're not going to believe this, but that object's back at your cap point. So like right where you just started, that thing's back there now. I don't know if they were running low on fuel exactly or what, but they bring their 2 jets back, and already one of his other pilots is geared up, loaded up, and taking off to go try and check this out some more. And so it's actually the Wizzo from this other jet that went out, this second run.
They got the video footage.
They got the video of the Tic Tac. So if you Google or YouTube Tic Tac footage, that's what you're actually seeing is this. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds of this Wizzo on the second group of the flight, trying to capture.
And he captured it on, like he was switching infrared, like different versions of the video.
Correct.
Because he was smart, and as he was trying to capture like multiple layers of evidence of what exactly he was looking at.
Yeah.
And there've been debunkers who have tried to explain away, but if you go and listen to Fravor, you know, he's real like, look, it's easy to like sit here and say, oh, it was a bird or it was whatever. It's like, this guy, he's an expert. I don't know who else would be an expert.
Right.
And, you know, 20 plus years of identifying aircraft in engaged situations. I think he would know if it was a bird.
My impressions of Fravor after I listened to 3 interviews at least, and possibly excerpts of a few more, but some of them were a year or so apart. And the one that you sent me was like this year. It's pretty
last
recent.
week. Yeah.
Kind of like we talk about Lazar. I mean, the story does not change, and he's very matter of fact about it. I get no indication that he's seeking some kind of glory or monetary gain from it. I mean, like one of those interviews, I think with Friedman, he makes some crack like, I haven't made $1 off of this. He says to Lex Friedman, he's like, you didn't pay me to be here. Whereas like when we were talking about Grush on the last episode, I don't know, probably from my tone, you could tell I was kind of like, this guy, I don't like
so
this guy.
You buy Fravor much more than Grush.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fravor struck me as any, experienced military guy I've met, and guy that age that's, you know, led a successful professional career. He's got nothing to prove. Kind of has that matter of fact nature about him. Like, I just don't hear from him. Like, he doesn't sound needy, like he's trying to convince me of anything. And like you were talking about debunkers, Mick West is one that's a more notable debunker about not only the Tic Tac, but a few other.
Oh, lots. It's all he does is try to debunk
thing.
UFOs.
And I thought Fravor's response was what it should be if you actually were confident in your story and believed what you were saying. He was kind of like, well, he wasn't there, and he's not a pilot, so
Yeah.
he can believe it or not, but that's what happened. And I was like, yeah, that's what I would think. I would go, well, I don't care if he believes it or not. It doesn't affect me, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people that are trying to give some sort of explanation as to what it was will kind of immediately go to, well, it was obviously some sort of advanced U.S. technology, experimental aircraft that he was kind of being tested. Like it was like, an engagement with our own people to see how we would respond to it. And there, he pushes back on that and says like, they don't do that because, you can actually really easily crash into the ocean. Like there's actually, the idea that we would send up an experimental aircraft to test against our own pilots without letting them know that this was a test would be against their code of conduct for sure, but also just, their safety codes. And in his opinion, they've never done that. In his opinion, he is aware of of the most advanced tech that we got out there right now.
Sure.
And he's saying this thing was not just kind of more advanced, it was light years ahead.
Yeah.
Just based on the physics of it, he's like, we don't have anything that can do what this thing did. When he talks about it disappearing over his, and taking off over him, going over the horizon in like a second.
Right.
Like we don't, there's nothing that can do that.
He was talking about like the SR-71, I think, is the fastest jet that we are aware of. And he said, even that, when you're at the altitude that we're at and you're out over the ocean where there's just nothing to impede your vision, he said, you can watch it for 30 seconds or whatever as it takes off into the distance. You can see it disappearing. Or he said, same thing when you're watching a rocket launch into space. You can watch it. It's going fast. It's going hard. It's going a long ways. You can kind of see it dissipate into the distance. He was like, this thing was disappearing so quickly that, I mean, it's unnatural.
Well, and it also moved in a really unnatural way, meaning even at a lower speed, when it turned to face him, it made a 90-degree turn like right away.
Yeah.
And like airplanes can't do that.
Right.
They can't immediately. And I think he described it too, like looking down at it, it wasn't like stable. Like it was like almost like a Pong game or something when you're watching a thing move.
Phrase like ping pong in a glass.
It didn't look like like anything that we know. Like it looked like it was almost kind of jittery and unstable, which is actually, when I think about the first UFO that I saw, that was what was weird about it, is that it disappeared so quickly. And it's like your brain can't process. You're like, I'm not used to seeing lights just appear and then immediately disappear. Like you think about a plane, it's going to, fly away.
Right.
And I had that same kind of feeling when I saw it. I thought that was what was weird, is that lights don't move like that in the sky. I've never seen that before. I don't know if it's exactly like what he saw, but it was kind of like that. Almost like I'm looking at an animation or something. I'm not looking at reality.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get it. It's foreign to the way you're used to watching things move.
Even like a comet or like a satellite or anything else in the sky. It doesn't just bloop, bloop, here, gone, kind of movement. I didn't mean to make this about me.
Well, man, it's funny, just to touch on that for a moment. I was unaware of Mick West, the debunker, until today, really, looking into this. And like a lot of these topics we've discussed in other episodes, I'm trying to seek out a naysayer, or the other side of the coin. I thought Mick West had a lot of interesting things to say about a lot of other topics. What's interesting about Fravor's account is it's a lot easier for me to find Mick West explaining away things like the gimbal video or other current videos. He's pretty dismissive of Grush and a lot of other things. But the only thing I heard him say, and I'm sure it's not the only thing that he's made a comment about in regards to Fravor, is just that, like, Fravor would say himself that it's easy for a pilot to lose perspective on how far away something is over the ocean because it's a big, vast, ambiguous blue landscape. But that's that's not a correct representation of what Fravor was saying. What Fravor was saying is many pilots, if they don't trust their instruments, can lose track of what's up and what's down in the ocean, and you can lose track of how far away from the ocean you are because it is so big and blue.
So you sorry if there's a blip in this. Our stupid system messed up.
Stupid system, stupid intern.
Stupid intern over there didn't do it right. But if there's a blip, right back in. Here we go. We were talking about Fravor over the ocean.
I just saw Ghostbusters over the weekend, speaking of movies that still hold up. And I love, the lawyer character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I forget his name, but Redbeard.
Mm-hmm.
And he says to the police officer.
He was in Ferris Bueller too, wasn't he?
I think
Is it the same guy?
Walter Peck, that's who he plays in Ghostbusters. And yeah, he might be in Ferris Bueller as well. He plays a good antagonist. But I love the line where he's talking to the police officer and he says, if he does that again, you can shoot him.
Yeah.
And that is what will happen to you.
Yes.
If this happens again. If he does it again, you can shoot him.
Don't tell me how to do my job.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not the same guy from Ferris Bueller, though. You're right. He's from...
Oh, you know what? Ferris Bueller's the guy from the Duck movie, Howard the Duck.
Yes.
Yeah.
The redhead.
Yeah.
The guy you're talking about, he was like in Groundhog Day or something. Like he's in several of those around that same time
He's
frame.
A little more... The dude from Howard the Duck and from Ferris Bueller's like a little more comedic. The guy from Ghostbusters, Walter Peck, you have a visceral response when you watch him. He's got more malice, like a very dislikable character actor. He does a good job.
So Fravor is over the ocean. I forget what we were saying.
He made the comment in one of the interviews that it's easy for pilots to get disoriented, especially with that much blue and broad things going on. And one of the points that Mick West made was, well, Fravor himself said that pilots can get disoriented with distance and
but he
whatnot.
wasn't saying that he was disoriented. He was just saying that that could happen to some pilots.
Fravor made the comment about it's hard to judge distance over the ocean relating to something else. It wasn't specifically pertaining to him tracking this tic-tac object.
He was very clear about, no, I know what I saw.
Yeah.
Like in his case, he's saying, no, I wasn't confused. I know exactly what I was looking at, and it wasn't anything that we've ever seen.
My wingman was watching the whole time and would have said, you're getting real close to the ocean, buddy.
Yeah.
So what I thought was interesting about Mick West in regards to Fravor was that I didn't hear as many comments debunking Fravor. And also, Fravor is very matter-of-fact about, he said, I've heard some weird accounts that, somebody watched our video feed live of us engaging this tic-tac. He said, our planes don't even broadcast
They didn't
video.
have that ability at that time.
He's like, that's not even a possibility that happened. So anybody that says that's not true. He said, I've heard accounts of that video being edited down to the minute and a half that it is. He says, no, it's a 90-second video. It's not a 10-minute video. It's nothing of like the government's not hiding all of that. So I just thought he doesn't, if he's acting out of sorts, if he's, making this up, it's very believable to me what he's saying.
Well, that could move us into some of the theory side of this, of what exactly is going on, because I feel like I've studied this case and lots of these cases and thought about it a lot. And I think you come down to, there's only a few possibilities of what actually could be going on. Possibility number one, David Fravor is who he says he is. He does what he says he does. And he encountered something from out of this world, that he engaged it in some sort of combat kind of situation over the ocean. Could it be super advanced tech that we have that he just didn't know about? That's a possibility. I think he even admits that maybe that's, except he'd think that would be very strange. Mm-hmm. The other possibility is, back to the idea of the podcast we did a while back, is faking an alien invasion. And maybe he was planted there You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he believes what he's saying.
Right.
Like, he knows that what he saw was out of this world, crazy technology. He could be kind of a pawn in a larger,
Interesting.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we don't normally test
like
our
a
tech.
Sirhan
Yeah,
sort of
well, if you were going to fake an alien invasion, you would need credible accounts of aliens coming to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he could be that. I mean, he could be, they don't normally test things on pilot. The thing is, it seemed like it wanted to be seen, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So either it was an alien that wanted to be seen, or it was us that wanted to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were faking an alien invasion, we would want to be seen from time to time to fake the alien invasion. Or he could be in on it. I mean, I've thought about this too. Like, who is one of our favorite actors?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise can act. He can make you believe that he is somebody he's not.
It's unsettling.
He can tell you a story that is not real. That that he makes us believe that that's a real.
Yeah.
Is that good? And I've thought, is there a program? Like, if we have a Tom Cruise, maybe we have a Tom Cruise that you don't even know about.
It's conceivable.
Who is a fighter pilot who tells a story that seems extraordinary, that is part of a larger narrative to do a fake alien invasion.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what my personal opinion is. I don't think that's what he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't. If he is, he's kind of like, it's like method acting. Like he's
pretty good.
But you would kind of need it to be that, right? Like his friends and family would have to vouch for him. It'd be pretty deep state. It'd be like you're MK Ultra. You know what I mean? Like really deep down.
Man.
But the question would be like, could we even have something like that going on? Like, could somebody be that undercover?
They could, I guess. I mean, it's conceivable.
A long silence.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about like,
it would have to involve a whole career.
So
he'd have to actually be a real pilot. He'd have to actually be a real commander.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he would also have to be like MK Ultra, some sort of deep spy, like lying about this whole situation for some reason.
It's conceivable. It's just so highly unlikely that he could play that long game so long. And
he'd have to believe it, I think.
Yeah. You're right. If it's an MK Ultra.
Because Tom Cruise can act on camera, but it's not the same as like maintaining an act for your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how easy that would be to do. I think that'd be pretty hard.
Yeah.
But we have spies. They do that.
We do, but listen to a little bit more of that Bustamante guy.
Uh-huh.
The way he talks about being a spy, I'm like, oh, okay. It is a little more like closer to real life than I've realized.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not as fantastic.
Did you ever see that show, The Americans?
No, but I know what the premise is.
Yeah. It makes me think of that. Like, could you like be living a whole fake life and people not really?
The only story. Did you ever hear the story of Ted Bundy? I mean, yes, you've heard of Ted Bundy, but he got so upset with a woman he was dating that he moved away, or they had a falling out. This is before he went on his Ted Bundy killing spree.
Mm.
She broke up with him, broke his heart, I think, he got really upset about it. He rekindles this romance with her and like stays with her for 6 or 8 months. And then just tells her, I'm going to go out of town for the weekend. She didn't hear from him for 6 weeks. She finally gets a hold of him. He's in another state. I'm sorry, I skipped a pretty important part. He proposed to her to get engaged. And then he's like, I got to make a trip this weekend. I'm going to go see a concert or something. 6 weeks goes by. Her fiance's just MIA. She can't find him.
Oh my gosh.
She tracks him down, gets him on the phone, and he kind of just is like, I want you out of my life, and just hangs up the phone. So, I mean, the implication being that the whole rekindling of the relationship for so many months and all the way up to this engagement was just because he was so vindictive that he wanted to like just crush her soul and break her. I mean, he's a serial killer and a sociopath. So my point is he did that once, but it was only for like a year-long mission. So for somebody like to play the long game we're talking about from 04.
Oh, even before that, like his whole
That's
career.
true. He had to,
like his whole career, he'd have to be undercover.
He had to enlist in the Marines. Then he had to get into the Naval Academy. He had to train as a pilot. Then he had to, fast forward to 04. Then he had to bide his time.
I'm just like putting that forward as an idea. Like, could we have people like that are, that we don't know about? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know about, like they're world-class actors or, spies or undercover of some sort that could fool anybody, and you just wouldn't know. Like they have an agenda, and it's tied to some sort of bigger. I mean, I'm just in my head, I'm trying to like think about what I always go back to, like, what are the odds, and the odds of alien craft coming to Earth. My whole life, I never really, that was pretty outlandish. But now since 2017, just seems to be like specifically ramping up. And the same criticisms I'd have of Grush, it just seems like, oh, I'm a whistleblower, but the whole military apparatus seems to be like okay with me. Like nobody's stopping him. You know what I mean? As if this wasn't so. Maybe it's not a real threat. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we've assessed it. I mean, my personal opinion is I think that I don't think he's an actor. He seems very genuine, but I'm just suggesting that, well, maybe he is. Maybe he's completely full of it. He's saying something really extraordinary. We have very little evidence, just a grainy video and a lot of testimony, but he seems to be validated. There's a lot of people that have said he is the real deal,
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
I can be talked out of most of them. This is, I think, the most credible one, but you're right. At the end of the day, it's 90 seconds of kind of grainy video. I don't really know what I'm looking at except for when he explains it.
Did you see, I just thought of it, but did you see that video I sent you of Coulthard from the other day?
No.
The interview he gave?
Who's he interviewing?
I forget who he was interviewing, but they were asking him about if we had these craft, something about like where they would be, or why they, how he could keep them secret. And he, I'm sure more will come out about it, but he said, what if I told you that some of these craft that they've found are so big they can't be moved, and we've actually built entire buildings around them to conceal them? That's what he said. It's like, I don't know, man. It's a hell of a thing to say. But then, and he said, but he also said specifically, they're outside of the United States. That we've found some that are so big they can't be moved. They're outside of the United States, and to conceal them, we just literally built entire buildings around them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a lot there, except that's a hell of a thing to think about.
That's something to say.
I guess I say that because, okay, another weird thing about Fravor. Fravor believes Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Fravor believes David Grush.
I know.
Fravor, I'm trying to think, there's somebody else that he believes. I mean, he's on board Lou Elizondo. Fravor believes Tom DeLonge.
I know.
Like all these people that it's like super, super credible source. And then a guy that writes songs about like the most infantile, ridiculous things in the world. It goes back to Tom DeLonge, and you go, what? Who was the one that really got this all rolling? Tom DeLonge. He's the one who got it rolling. He's ridiculous. And I mean, even Lazar, like, I've written about Lazar, and I love his story, but there's a lot, if you're being honest, there's a lot of holes in Lazar's story. And and it involves a massive cover-up.
Right.
He says he went to MIT. He says, and I don't, we can't explain Lazar all of a sudden, but he's another guy he is claimed to be part of an effort that was reverse engineering UFOs back in the 1980s and 90s. And he's, there's been a lot of people that have looked into his background and just said, well, it's just not credible. And he's really not ever debated a real scientist. I know Eric Weinstein had an ongoing thing with Joe Rogan saying, can you set up, I'll come on. And Weinstein has been very into the UFO topic as a scientist, and he's surprised by it. And I think to my knowledge, I don't think Lazar's taken him up on it. But it's like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, if you're a real scientist, if you really did this, why wouldn't you just go talk to Eric and, scientist to scientist, have a conversation? People would say it's because I think a real scientist would poke holes in his story pretty quick. But begs question, well, why is Fravor out there saying, I mean, he says in the interviews that Lazar's the real deal.
Yeah, that was a weird moment for me looking into this, was listening to Fravor buying more in. Like, God, I really believe this guy. He's a likable dude. Seems credible. Seems pretty unassuming. Like he's not trying to sell this to me too hard. And then he says, yeah, Fravor. He's like, yeah, I met Bob. Bob and I get along real well. He's a regular dude. And I'm like, okay, well that.
I wouldn't describe him as a regular dude.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Lazar is one that the fact that he hasn't changed his story does provide some credibility for me. There's some merit there. For whatever reason, I'm not a fan of Grush, but so as I'm listening to Fravor say, "Oh, me and Bob, yeah, we're buddies. He's all right." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And he's like, "Yeah, Lou Elizondo, we connect here, there." I said, okay. He's like, "In this Grush, I'll tell you Grush." I'm like, "Oh, all right, take it easy, Fravor." So you're right. Like we have him on his own.
It's like his story on its own is very believable, but man, I thought the same thing about Joe Rogan. I talked about that because you laugh Tom DeLonge out of the room, and then you say Bob Lazar is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Tom DeLonge published his autobiography. I mean, he's Bob Lazar, so it's like if you can't laugh Tom out of the room and then say you believe Bob. They're on the same page, and the same thing with Fravor and Grush. They're all saying the same thing, which is unbelievable, and that this has been a thing for 90 years, and I don't know, it's really unbelievable what Coulthard is saying, that there's UFOs so big that we built entire buildings to hide them.
It's tough for some of the reasons you already mentioned. I mean, some of the people that are associated with it, Tom DeLonge, easy to dismiss because of his musical career and his appearance on Rogan. Well, I mean, he didn't bring anything really. I mean, like
it was the same kind of thing as a lot of Grush. It was like, I can't tell you this.
I can't. He went on too early. If he actually did have anything to say, he shouldn't have gone on at the time that he did.
Well, that's why he's backed off of it.
Yeah,
he said that I kind of screwed up.
Yeah,
and so
jumped the gun a little bit.
And he was happy to just back off, which also is weird because you think, he's so invested in it, and at the same time, he's openly said, "Oh, this isn't about me. Like I'm happy to help if I can, but this is way bigger than me, and this is the biggest thing I've ever, this is the biggest thing I'll ever have anything to do with, and it's more important than any of the music I've done or the movies I've done or the books I've written." He's openly said, whatever needs to happen to bring this out, that's what he's trying to do, and if he can be useful, great. If he's not, great. Which I can tell you from being a shareholder of the company, that a lot has changed in To the Stars Academy. And a lot of these people have phased out, and Lou is not associated with To the Stars Academy anymore. And I think some of that was because he did say things on that podcast that he wasn't supposed to say. He said that too. So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it was helpful. Whatever, I think you sent me the link of the replay of it, and it's him giving a little bit of a debrief on like or just kind of a recap on after the interview. It might have been even a couple years after the interview happened.
It was, yeah.
Him going, well, I really wasn't as prepared as I should have been going into that. Didn't expect, the questions he was going to ask. So I thought, okay, fair enough.
Maybe Fravor just doesn't know as much about the history of these interviews and stuff as we do.
Yeah.
When he says he believes Bob, maybe he hasn't listened to a lot of the debunkers who have poked holes in his story.
The couple of interviews I listened to, he made that comment more than once. He's like, I'm not a UFO guy.
That makes sense.
Which is one of my favorite. I was hoping I'd find a spot to bring this up. But one of my favorite just anecdotes that Fravor shares is he says, I'm not a UFO guy. Matter of fact, he said, when we would be out doing instrument flights at night in our jets, you've got your instruments on, you can, the heat sensors are so sensitive that you can spot a campfire from miles away. And he said, we would sneak up on campsites. So we'd get some momentum going, kill our thrusters, kill our lights.
Just freak him out.
And he said, yeah. Then he would just like pull the stick back, hit the afterburners, and just shoot up. And he's like, and of course, people oftentimes thought we were UFOs.
Yeah.
Because we were just playing jokes on campers.
Oh, he's a perfect guy to fake an alien invasion.
So we're talking about a guy that's like, no, I wasn't a UFO guy before this. And he's even in that recent interview you sent me from this past week, he said, I don't know if it's aliens or what. I'm just telling you, it's not a thing that I've seen before. I'm not used to that type of movement. And he said, if it is little green men, fine, so be it. But that's not, again, it just doesn't seem to be his main objective.
But he also finished up with that a lot of, he thinks there's full disclosure coming. I mean, he said that in the interview. He said, within my lifetime, I think you're going to see some unbelievable things come out, which is, I take that to mean after everything he said about Bob Lazar and all the other, and Lou and everyone else, is like, David Grush is right, which means
it's too bad.
We got a lot of aliens. We could end this talking about the woman on the plane.
Yeah.
So if this is
wild.
right, if this is right, and aliens are walking amongst us right now, this woman on American Airlines might have had an encounter with one.
Yeah.
So if there's a video that went viral a day or two ago with this woman on American Airlines swearing a lot. So if you don't like swearing, don't look at it. But she is on a plane and she's flipping out, and they're not quite taken off, I think, yet. And she's like, I need off this plane. And the reason she said is, everyone's kind of laughing at her in video. And she's like, that guy, I won't use the language she used, but she's saying that guy in the back, he is not real. And I'm getting off this plane for a darn good reason. And if you guys want to stay here and die, that's your business. But I don't care what you think of me. I'm getting off of here.
Yeah.
And then, it's so good, because I don't know if you saw the follow-up video. Supposedly, the guy who claimed to be who she was talking about on the video put out a video. Now, I don't think it was him, because there was another video that came out that showed a man in a green hoodie, and people said that's who the man was that she was talking about. And there's two guys. One guy said that he looked at that man, and that man looked back at him after she left, and he winked at him. But when he winked at him, his eye winked like this, like sideways.
Vertical lids instead of horizontal. Yeah.
That guy, probably questionable. But then another guy came out who had tattoos all over his face and everything, and he's wearing a hoodie with a Masonic Freemason symbol on the front of it. And he did this whole bit where he explained, he's just claiming to be the guy in the video. I don't know if he was. I don't know if it's been verified, but he said, yeah, she was upset. She was asking me about, do I know what this means? And do you know what, about the Masons and all that? And he's told her that he was Lucifer or something, and that's why she flipped out. But given our history with the Masons, I don't know, man. They could be reptilians. That's the idea, is that he was not a human. He was something else, reptilian or otherwise.
I didn't see that video. I just saw the one.
It just came out today.
Where there's the fella that said he was a passenger on the plane, sat a few rows back, and then he said, yeah, the guy with the hoodie winked at me. He had vertical eyelids instead of horizontal, which
It's
was
fun to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it was interesting to watch the video of that woman, because it is very easy to, I would have probably been like most people on that plane, like, oh, she must be on pills. Like, she's on Ambien and she's freaking out before the flight. But something about watching that one, I don't know if it's just because you're the one that sent it to me. I was a little more open-minded when I watched it. Like, yeah, what if you were on a plane and this person next to you does something that indicates, like, this is not a human.
The mask slips for a second,
Yeah.
you know?
And do you stay on the plane with that knowledge? No.
There was another
You're
incident
okay
that
with people
happened
thinking
today
you're crazy,
on
yeah.
a totally different plane with a man. A British man in the middle of the flight. He stands up, and I watched the video a few times. I could not understand what he was saying, but he's flipping out about
'Cause he was
the guy
British.
in his passenger seat, and he tried to open the door. They're in air, and he's
wow.
he's like flipping out, and he's like, "I'm not going to die. This is not whatever." He's like, "I'm getting off this plane." And he goes for the door, and other passengers restrain him and stop him. But people are like, "What's the deal with these people flipping out on planes?" You know, saying, "Get me out of here. I'm going to die." I don't know. But it was the same thing. He was like, he's pointing at this other man, and is like, there's somebody else on the plane that he was flipping out about for some reason. He was a guy probably, 20, 25 years old. You know, who knows, maybe, crystal meth, you know? But guy, if the Fravors, if the Grush story is real, if Lazar's story is real, yeah, there could be shapeshifters walking around amongst us, and you wouldn't know. I mean, maybe that sounds. I don't know. I don't know where you fall, but I still fall more on the phenomenon is real. I do think that. I think that this is an opportunistic. I mean, just fake alien invasion. Just the odds of it just seem so. You know what I mean? Like, I think that we don't have any evidence at this point. You and I,
Right?
Like, I don't have any evidence. I don't know what's going on. I just think that these, not Fravor, but we have to come to terms with the fact that, as a country, the deep state, whoever it might be, rogue actors or whatever, I mean, they shot JFK in the face in front of everyone. It's the same thing. Like, well, how extreme are they willing to be? Like, how far would they go? How big could a lie be? Killed the president, killed his brother, probably faked a moon landing. Would they fake an alien invasion? I think so. I don't know. I would if I was in charge. If I was king of the world, and this is how you get everybody to do what you want. I don't know, fake it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's that don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Are you the one that coined that, or not coined it, but quotes that one every once in a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mick West talks about the feedback loop that this is creating. Like, somebody reports some kind of alien UFO, something, which brings it up into the public media and the attention, at which then now it prompts somebody else to be more likely to see something and report something, and it just gets this flywheel effect going.
The question is that by design?
Yeah. Is it by design, or is it just a good opportunity if you're, a guy in the White House tripping over vials of cocaine? Yeah. Just going, well, this is shaking out pretty good. Yeah,
Give us a good distraction. Yeah. Well, that's probably a good place to end it. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching the Conspiracy Dad podcast. Like, share, do all the things that you can to promote us if you're a fan. We appreciate everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.